Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I would like to share my thoughts on The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3, which I just beat this game, so it should come as no surprise that I absolutely loved it and I can't wait to start Trails of Cold Steel 4. However, before I do that, of course I have to record a quick review. I say quick review, but if you've seen any of the videos on my channel, they're anything but quick. We'll try to keep it under 20 minutes, but I can't guarantee anything. And for the most part, it will be spoiler-free. I may have to talk about certain things that happen in Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, because, I mean, this is Trails of Cold Steel 3. But as far as major plot points, I'm not going to talk about that in the spoiler-free section. However, at a certain point, I'll say all spoilers are on the table because I do need to talk about that ending and also make some predictions for what I think is going to happen in Trails of Cold Steel 4. But I'll let you know when I get to spoilers, and I'll also have a timestamp in the description down below. So, you've been warned. Now, let's get to Trails of Cold Steel 3, which obviously, as the name suggests, is the third Trails of Cold Steel game. However, it is the 8th Trails game overall, and as someone who's played every game, starting with Trails in the Sky first chapter, I believe it is imperative to start there and play every game in order. Play the Sky Trilogy, then play the Crossbell Duology, then play the Cold Steel Quadrilogy, then Reverie, then Daybreak, whatever else. Because, and also, I should also mention, read the Ring of Judgment manga, read the Tale of Luve manga, read the audio drama, because they're in Japanese, so you do have to read them, and I think they're all on YouTube, and there's also like PDF files floating around out there, and I do believe you can read them in the extra menu in Cold Steel 2 and Cold Steel 3, so there's a lot of supplemental material as well, and it just makes the experience that much better. There are so many plot points in this game that began as early as Sky First Chapter, and the game I always go back to is Trails in the Sky the Third, which I still stand by, is the most important game in this series for lore purposes and just for everything that comes after it. It's really incredible, and when people say that's a filler game, I laugh at them, because obviously they didn't play the game or they just skipped all the star doors or whatever. But that's the other thing, too. All the side quests are very meaningful. Not just for, like, better abilities and items and things like that, but just lore purposes, learning more with the characters. Like our boy Anton, but... Oh, I'm not going to say anything about Anton, but, you know, his story in all these games. I mean, come on, man. Do it for Anton. So, yeah, it's very imperative to play all the games in release order and really just appreciate all the quality of life improvements, like how the battle system has largely remained the same since the first Sky game, but as you go on, then you get the chain attacks, you get the combo, S-crafts, Azure introduced the Master Quartz, Link attacks of Cold Steel and the Arcus, and then this game introducing even more things. I'll get to that a little later, but Trails of Cold Steel 3 takes place a year and a half after the events of Trails of Cold Steel 2, following our main protagonist, Rien Schwarzer, the Ashen Chevalier, who is now Instructor Rien of the Thor's Military Academy branch campus in the town of Leaves, which is to the west of Heimdall. And they opened up a new campus because, well, the Empire is ever expanding. And at the very end of Cold Steel 2, they had annexed Crossbell, which we also saw that at the end of Trails to Azure. And in the 1.5 year time skip, they had annexed Northumbria, which they explain a little bit more about that with the anime series Trails of Cold Steel Northern War, which I think came out either a year or 2 years ago. I haven't seen it. I heard it wasn't that good. Maybe one day I'll eventually watch it and give my thoughts on it, but I don't think you need to really watch it, because they explain the Northern War with like flashbacks and other cutscenes later on in this game. But, see, Northumbria is so much more... If you only play the Cold Steel games, maybe you know Northumbria because of Sarah and the Northern Jaegers and stuff like that. But if you play the Sky games, you know all about the Salt Pail, about Weissman, and all this other stuff. And it just hits that much harder. And some really good stuff there. We'll say that for when I do the whole story discussion videos later on. But just know that the Empire is expanding, and they have to have more people join the military, so they open up the branch campus. And they explain, rather, our principal, our crazy principal, who I won't spoil until you play the game for yourself. But if you know, you know. Refers to it as the trash bin, where all the misfits go. They're not cut out for the main campus in Tristus, so they go to the misfit campus. And we still have old Class 7, right? They obviously show up again in this game. They're the main characters of the side main characters, because Reen's the main character, but the other main characters. They sort of show up in supporting roles in this game, and it kind of reminded me of Trails of Cold Steel 2, when you had, Toval join for a little bit, and then Claire joined, and then Sharon joined, and you had this rotating cast. It's kind of like that with old Class 7. And, maybe in the first Cold Steel game, I wasn't really too fond with all the members of Class 7, but as I continue playing the games at the end of Cold Steel 2, and now at the end of Cold Steel 3, I really do appreciate all the characters in old Class 7, even Machias and Elliot, who, are probably the weaker ones. The stronger characters, I would say, are probably like Emma. Fee is my favorite. Fee. At the end of Cold Steel 3, Eustace. Eustace is great, man. Even Gaius, man. Which Gaius was one, he had the Nord Highlands in the first 2 games, but by the end of Cold Steel 3, like, Gaius, what a legend. The wind. Anyway, so the new characters here along with Reen, we have new Class 7, which you can see on the cover, so saying their names is not really much of a spoiler, because you already know if you at least seen the cover. And they are Una Crawford, Kurt Vander, Altina Orion, and then later on in the game, similar to Crow and Milliam from Cold Steel 1, Ash Carbide and Muse Egret. Altina is the only returning character, because of course she was in Cold Steel 2, and if you would have told me in Cold Steel 2 that Altina would end up being one of my favorite characters, I would have probably laughed at you. But Altina becomes one of my favorite characters. And in a lot of ways, she's comparable to Tio in Trails from Zero. But I'll leave it there for now. And I really did like Altina. I like them all. Una, I guess technically it's her first appearance, but she had a cameo appearance in Trails to Azure. If you went to the police academy, you would see the pink-haired girl. And that was added after the fact of the PS4 release, if I'm not mistaken, which we just got last year, right? Where they added the portraits for Una, Gideon, Toa, and Duvali. And maybe I'm missing some others, but that's off the top of my head, that's all I can remember. And Gideon, man, they talk about Gideon a little bit in this game, but we can't really talk about that either. But man, I couldn't believe that. So yeah, Una Crawford, who also, if you said she's your favorite, I wouldn't argue with her, because she's another great character. Kurt Vander, who, as the name suggests, is the younger brother of Muir Vander. And I thought he was a great character too. And honestly, you get a lot out of him doing the bonding events. You always want to keep a save file for when you do bonding events, because, say there's 4 characters, they'll give you 3 bonding events. The game just does that to you. Which, kind of annoying, but I had my save files and was able to watch every bonding event. Altina, as I mentioned, she's great, man. She really does have an excellent arc here. I really loved her character development. Ash Carbide, a great character. I love his sort of back and forth with Reen, and, at the end, he doesn't want to admit it, but he does appreciate what Instructor Reen's done for him. And then Muse, which, I love Muse, man. She's the flirtatious one, and she's like, oh, Instructor Reen, he's so dashing. It's just, her comments are hilarious. I loved it. But as far as the gameplay goes, so Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 were initially released on the PS3 and PlayStation Vita, but some years later they were re-released on the PS4 with quality of life improvements, because for whatever reason, the initial releases didn't have high speed mode, but they added that in the PS4 version, and I also believe they added more voice acted lines, and maybe some other stuff that I'm missing. But Cold Steel 3 is really the first PS4 game, and you can see the leap in graphics. I never thought the graphics were bad in the first Cold Steel games because, I'm not a graphics guy. I mean, I love the graphics in the Sky games and the Crossbell games. But you can definitely see the improvement in the graphics. The facial expressions they make are more varied as well. They do some more crazy cutscenes, but it's still kind of limited because Nihon Falcom is I guess a budget company. I just found this out. They only have 65 employees, which is, for what they do, man, it's pretty crazy. And I'd love to know, maybe I should research this or someone can leave a comment. Was this whole grand story played out with Sky first chapter, or do they just catch lightning in a bottle and go from there? Because it's really impressive how everything goes back to those early games. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. So yeah, you have the graphical enhancements. As far as the battle goes, like, dude, the battle system has been the same since Sky first chapter, but every subsequent game added something else, like chain attacks, having in Sky the Third a 5th party member to give you some buffs. Then in Zero, having the 2 reserve party members, Azure, Master Quartz, and Burst Mode and stuff like that. Cold Steel, the link attacks of Arcus, and mech battles. There's even more mech battles in Cold Steel 3, and they're awesome, dude. I love them. Well, in Cold Steel 3, they also add something called Brave Orders, which you can use your Brave points that you get from link attacks to sort of break the flow of battle, and you can give yourself some more buffs, such as increase your, recover your HP, increase your attack, give you some speed boosts, give you like 50% chance to inflict critical attacks, things like that. And I've seen some people criticize that, saying it makes the game easy. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. You can break the bosses and make them quite easy, but you don't have to use them if you want a challenge, I guess. And I played the game on hard difficulty, so I felt challenged, especially against some of the bosses. You can also break the bosses, so they have the HP and then like the break stagger gauge, and if you eliminate that, they'll be in a stunned state for a few turns. You can do a lot of extra damage. With the Master Quartz, you have a Sub-Master Quartz, so your primary one gives you all your stat buffs and your arts, and you get like 3 additional abilities. With the sub one, you can level it up so you can grind different Master Quartz, and you get one of the abilities. I don't think you get the stat buffs though, so it's still cool. You can have a second Master Quartz, and instead of level 5, you can increase them to level 7. So there's new abilities. Most of them return. I think there's a few new ones, so it's cool to see that. I had no difficulty with Septith in this game. In the earlier Trails games, like, it was always a struggle as to whether or not, okay, do I get a new quartz, or do I get new weapons? What do I do with the Septith? In this game, I had no real issues with it because the cast is, well, it's actually quite large, but it's smaller in a certain sense with new Class 7, because when old Class 7 and other people join your party, they already have their equipment, and some of them have their equipment locked, so you can't even, take it out. So you don't really have to worry about equipment for anybody other than Reen and new Class 7, so it's only 5 people. So I never had any money issues. Like earlier Trails games, I did have money issues, but this one, no money issues whatsoever. And there's the 1 quartz you can get, which, increases your Septith drops and increases your experience, so no real issues there. Well, fishing, of course, returns, and they made fishing a little different, so you don't just, spam buttons or whatever. This one, like, you kind of spam buttons, but it's more to it than that, and you gotta, like, reel in all the fish, get upgrades for the rod. There's Vantage Masters, which I thought was better than Blade. And I love with fishing, too, it's not just Reen. Any of the new Class 7 members can go out there as your avatar. And I always love the one with Altina, because, she gets her emotions, but in the beginning she's sort of lifeless, and she does everything very analytically, where as she casts the rod, she's like, casting, bite received, casting. It's just so cute, man. I love the voice acting in this game. All the voice actors more or less return. There's some new voice actors for the new characters. They all do a great job. They had Sean Schemmel, who's probably the most famous as Goku in the Funimation Dragon Ball Z dub. Voices Olaf Craig, that's Elliot's father in the 4th Armored Division. But he also voices another character who has like 2 lines in the whole game. It's like, what the hell, man? He got Sean Schemmel, which they probably paid a pretty penny for him. And okay, he voices Olaf, who has more than 2 lines. But he voiced the other character who has 2 lines throughout the whole game, which I kind of laughed at that. And maybe that's one criticism I do have of this game, is that there's a lot of voice acting, but there's also quite a number of instances in the cutscenes where they'll be talking, they'll be voice acting, and then it just stops, then you gotta read it, and then they start talking again. And I get it, because there's a lot of dialogue in this game. I do get it, but some of those cutscenes, man, would have been so much better if they were voice acted. And I wonder if that's just because I played it with English voice acting as opposed to the Japanese. You know, maybe that's my issue. But yeah, I love the structure of the game. You know, basically, if you play one Trails game, you pretty much know. But the overall structure, you get a chapter, you get a bunch of cutscenes, some info dumps, then you go around, whatever game you're playing, you do your Bracer request, you do the SSS request, you do your request for Toa, etc., etc. You go to a new area, more cutscenes, crazy boss fights, more plot revelations. I love the structure of it. I love talking to all the NPCs in between chapters, seeing how the dialogue changes. Really terrific stuff, man. Terrific stuff. So, I like quite a lot of it. As for dislikes, like I said, just the voice acting thing. One thing I'll say with an asterisk, I don't dislike it, but I think people might dislike it, is the length of these games. I don't dislike it at all. I mean, I clocked in 125 hours of this playthrough, but again, I did everything. I talked to every NPC multiple times. I did every side quest. I caught all the fish. I didn't open all the treasure chests. I didn't get that trophy. That's like impossible. The only treasure chest trophy I got in any of these Trails games I played has been Trails of Cold Steel 2. And I equipped the Moonlens Quartz as soon as I got it, but I still missed a chest here and there, I guess. So yeah, I guess the length, people might not like that, but to me, if this game was 200 hours, I'd be fine with it. And that's why I can't wait to play Cold Steel 4. But yeah, I know people complain about the length of these games, but to that I say, like, do you want to play a dozen 10, 20-hour games, or do you want to play, like, a Kino 125-hour game? Because for me, it's just the Trail series all the way, baby. Anyway, at this point, I have to say spoilers, because I do want to talk about the ending, so hopefully you enjoyed the non-spoiler section, and definitely play this series. The series is so good. It's my favorite series of all time. I love these games. You know, it's hard for me to even pick a favorite. I always sort of go back and say Trails of the Sky the Third is my favorite because it's an unconventional choice. And it really is a great game, and it just sets up so much that happens later on. But I really do love the SSS and Trails to Azure, great game. And man, I love this game, so this might be my top 3 now. But, you know, we'll have to revisit that with my Trails ranking after I beat them all. So we'll leave that there. But in my opinion, there's really not a bad game. I guess Cold Steel 1 is the worst. But even then, it's not bad because you need it to build up everything that happens in the later games. And take it from me, someone who playing the first Cold Steel game is like, oh, Reen, you know, he's kind of lame compared to Estelle and Lloyd. But then once I beat 2, it's like, okay, Reen's pretty cool. And now after beating 3, Reen is the man. I don't know if he's as good as Estelle and Lloyd, but he's moving up there. And I do like him quite a bit. And I think he's overhated by people at this point. But anyway, let's get to the spoiler section. So, spoilers inbound. Now, where to even begin with that? So I guess just the ending, man. Like, dude, the way the game ends, how does that happen? It just fades to black. This wretched fairy tale in ink, black as despair. Which, dude, Gilead Osborne's voice actor, dude. Oh my god, what a legend. Oh. So, I should also talk about that. So other villainous characters who return. We have Arian Road, who is voiced by Shirami Lee, one of my favorite voice actors, who's probably most famous as Lucy in Fairy Tail and Asuna in Sword Art Online. Great casting choice there. Which I find it funny. She also voices the one nervous girl, Titania, from not Class 7, but the Branch Campus. Anyway. So, just, like, that's why I gotta do, like, a whole video series, just my whole story analysis and review. But the whole ending of Radiant Heimdall was at Chapter 4, where Ash is one of the other kids from survivors from Hamel, and he has the Erebodian curse, and he shoots the Emperor, which I don't believe the Emperor's dead. I think they still said he's in the hospital recovering. But he was shot. Wasn't he shot in the heart? Oh, fuck, man. They shot him. And just the whole ending sequence, man, with with Thomas, the Partitioner, the Second Dominion, and Rosine. There was this great line with Rosine, like, I'll get in contact with Father Wazzy. Like, Wazzy? You're gonna call him Wazzy? Oh god, I hope Wazzy shows up in the next game. That'd be fucking awesome. But, yeah, we meet Rutger, which I know I called him Rutger in the last game, but it's Rutger, Fee's father, who I don't quite know how the fuck he was revived, or how Crow was revived either, but they're there. And Crow, Azure Siegfried, but he did remember at the end there. Lots of good stuff, man. McBurn, Campanella, Duvalie, not Duvalie the Swift, Duvalie the Ditz. Anyway, the whole final dungeon, which I know people hate on the final dungeons of the Trails games because they're very long. This final dungeon was quick, man. You just fight a few bosses and you're at the end there. And I love, this was reminiscent of Cold Steel 2. When you fight each of the final bosses, you know, the first one is McBurn and Aryenroad. And as you fight them, you have Emma, Gaius, and Laura stay behind because Emma can seal the flame of McBurn. Laura wants to face off against Aryenrod, you know, because she's Leanne Sandalot. And that's where Laura S. Arcade, S stands for Sandlot, which I thought that was cool. And then Gaius, they reveal that he's the 8th Dominion, the Soaring Phoenix. Fucking Kino, man. Fucking Kino, the Growlsritter. Where's our boy Kevin? When's he gonna get involved? But yeah, you had that. Then you had the next group you fought was Rutger, Shirley, Siegfried, and Sharon, which, yeah, Sharon defected, went back to Ouroboros because she fulfilled her duty, the whole revelation with Franz Reinfeld still being alive. He's Black Alberic, who, I guess Black Alberic is the... nah, because he was still taking orders from Osborn. Osborn's the big villain of the whole series, but Black Alberic's right there. I would be surprised if Black Alberic betrays Osborn in the next game. But yeah, so Elisa's father is like the big villain. Crazy, man, crazy. And Sharon, I felt so bad. Of all like the betrayals and the things that happened at the end there, that was the most difficult one to watch because it's like, Supermaid, Sharon, what are you doing, Sharon? Why? So they all stayed behind there. I think it was Elisa, Fee, and Sarah stayed behind to fight. And then you had, the Ironbloods, you had to fight Rufus, Lecter, Milliam, and Claire. And with that, you had Eustace, Machias, and Elliot stay behind. And then you got to the final battle, then you fight the Nameless One, which is the corrupted Holy Beast. And remember, the Holy Beast from the other games, we had Ragnard in the Sky Trilogy, the dragon, and then Zeit, the Divine Wolf. And now we have the corrupted Holy Beast, which this one was guarding the Septerion of Earth. There was one, the fire one I think was called Arc Rouge, and then the Earth was Lost Zem. And he had consumed the Erebodian curse and was sealed away or whatever. And it was all part of their plan because they were developing Milliam and Altina. Of course, they were homunculus. Which, did they talk about the homunculus in the second game? I think they just said they came from the Black Workshop. But yeah, Black Alberic, of course, Black Alberic, the Black Workshop, the Chief of the Gnomes, developed them to create the Sword of the End. And they're gonna turn Altina into the Sword of the End, but we gotta rescue Altina, which that reminded me a lot of Trails from Zero rescuing Kia from Joachim Gunter, right? But actually, Milliam steps in at the last minute and takes a fatal blow from the Nameless One and dies and turns into the sword. Which was I was crying my eyes out, man, because Milliam had such a great character arc from the first game to the second game, saying, you know, she never cried before, and then at the very end of the second game crying to sacrificing herself to protect Reen and Altina. And she turned into the sword, and then it made Reen, after seeing Milliam get killed, Reen went berserk, used his ogre powers, and then Valimar like transformed, and he killed the corrupted Holy Beast, which let loose the Erebonian curse across the lands, which is all part of Gileath Osborne's plan to start the War of Calvard, because the curse was corrupting, and people were like, it's Calvard's fault, it's Calvard's fault. And as all this was going on, too, I should also note, George was actually working with the Black Workshop, and his name is Georg. And dude, there's a fucking, I can't tolerate anymore people hating on Angelica. Angelica was a great character, man. People hating on Angelica. She was the only one smart enough to figure out that Siegfried was Crow and went to his grave to dig it up. And then Georg, shows up and kills Angie. Like, no, not Angie. And people, I've been back and forth with people in the comments about Angie. Some people like her, some people hate her. A lot of people hate her. I like Angie. And her, that was sad, man. They killed her. And the trauma Toa went through, losing all her friends. Crow, Angie, George defecting. And probably the even more difficult scene to watch, too, was the Courageous showing up at the very end. And it was Olivier, Toval, and Victor, Viscount Arcade. And they show up, and George had implanted bombs in the Courageous, and Black Alberic pressed the button and blew the fucking thing up and killed Olivier, Victor, and Toval. And that was such a sad scene because, as they were dying, it was like, Olivier says, "I'm so sorry, Shara." Which they said Shara was in Heimdall, but we didn't see her. We saw Agate and Tita. We didn't see Shara, though, which is kind of a letdown. I hope we see Shara in the next game. And then Toval says, "I'm sorry, Ein." Again, Ein sounded the first Dominion. I know. And then Victor, "Goddess, protect my daughter." And they all died. Oh, man, what a tragic scene. Just the whole ending sequence was crazy, man. You had like Crimson Roselia and Thomas teaming up to fight all the members of Ouroboros. You had Agate and Tita versus Zeno and Leo. And then you had Randy, Tio, and Randy, Tio, and Major Irving. That's right, Major Irving against Gareth in the Red Constellation. Which, Jaeger Gareth is in this game, and he has like 2 lines voiced by Sean Shevel. He's like, "We'll do all we can to support Miss Orlando." Like, that's all he says. What the hell, man? But just seeing all these characters, Tio Tot, man, seeing Tio Tot and Randy in 3D, which we already saw. We already saw Lloyd and Risha in Cold Steel 2, but now we saw Randy and Tio, and they have English voice actors now. Great job. I think it was Jonas Scott voices Randy, and Kaylee Mills voices Tio. Great casting for them. Agate and Tita, which is cool to see. Principal Aurelia. Oh, man. Oh, the whole ending sequence, too. So, Aurelia, Vita, and Lady Mildine all scheming, and they seize the Pantagruel. Oh, my God. What are they scheming? And I guess Vita is effectively defected from Ouroboros, which we haven't really, that's not surprising, because we've had people leave Ouroboros before, such as, Joshua and Ren. And at the end, Louve, he atoned and sacrificed himself to save Joshua and the others in Sky's second chapter. But I keep saying this, like, okay, Ouroboros has some villains, but deep down, I don't think a lot of them are that bad. Like, Duvalie, at the end there, Duvalie regrets what she's done, so it's curious to see what's going to happen with her. Aryan Road, I don't think she's, like, evil either. It's just, how the fuck is she still alive, though? Because she's over 250 years old. But then again, Crimson Roselia is 800 years old, too. She's the vampire witch, so... Oh, man. But, as far as villains, I mean, Campanella, although he's kind of a trickster, too. I don't think McBurn's really evil either, because he sort of just messes around. He had a funny line, too. He's like, talking about, Blade Master chick, talking about Laura, and... what do you call Evie? He said, Miss Barely a Witch and Newbie Knight. and after the boss fight, he's like, "I'm bringing Angbar out," which is his sword. And that's some Kino storytelling, too. His sword was called Angbar, and then Louve had Kernviter. And they were both given to them by the Grandmaster, which we just don't even know who the fuck the Grandmaster is. And I love there was a line in the game, too, where Reed asked Gilead Osborne, "What even is the Phantasmal Blaze Plan?" Which, near as I can figure, the Phantasmal Blaze Plan was awaken the Hollow Phantasma and Crossbell to awaken the Blaze in Erebonia, which that was doing the shit with Kia, creating the fake Septarion, and then they did the Blaze and the Grawl of Erebos, and they can bring forth the Erebonian Curse. That's what I got out of it anyway. Maybe someone can leave me a comment down below if I'm missing something, but, you know, it makes enough sense. And, yeah, I love the game. I know I said we're going to keep this to 20 minutes, so here we are at 30 minutes, over 30 minutes now. But, yeah, it is what it is. I love the game so much. Those wondering, you know, I am going to do my story analysis and review. I've done one for every Trails game now, but if you watch my Trails of Cold Steel 2 one, it went close to 4 hours. So what we're going to do with Trails of Cold Steel 3 is we're going to break it down with each chapter and do one for the prologue. I believe there are 4 chapters and then the finale. So we're going to do 6 separate videos. However, I am not going to do that until after I finish playing the games because I want to play Cold Steel 4 right now. And I'm not going to delay. So after recording this video, getting it all uploaded, I'm playing Cold Steel 4. So this is going to go up on Monday. By the time it's up, I'm probably 20 hours into Cold Steel 4. So you can at least look forward to an initial thoughts video on Cold Steel 4. But as far as story analysis and review, it will happen, but not right away because I want to play Cold Steel 4 right away. Oh, and also, Blue Blanc. No Blue Blanc in this game. I believe this is the first game without Blue Blanc, which is kind of a shame because I loved Blue Blanc. And that was kind of a trend. He was in every game. Unless I missed something, but I think I did every side quest. No letter from any Phantom Thief B. Well, I guess they name-dropped him a few times, but I didn't see Blue Blanc. I was like, where the fuck is he? Which Campanella actually said that he wasn't participating in their events because, well, he had a close relationship with Vita. So, you know, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Blue Blanc turns out to be an ally because he was never that bad either. And because he supports Vita, Vita is a good guy now. At least that's how it seems. She's working with Aurelia. And, man, I always loved when Aurelia would join and everyone's like, Major Irving's face-palming toe was like, oh, Principal, please, don't do it, Principal. And, you know, she just goes to town. And, man, Chapter 3 was fucking Kino. They did such a great job hiding the intro, which the intro, if you recall, you know, you're in Chapter 3. But they hid Principal Aurelia being in Reen's party and Angelica being in Yuna's party. They hid that so well. And that was awesome. We got to see it. And I love Angie. I'm telling you right now, I love Angie. But best girl, God, at this point, I don't even know. You know, Estelle, I guess. But as far as this game goes, Altina. Altina was the best girl of Trails of Cold Steel 3. With Yuna a close second, and Muse a close third. Absolutely. So, we'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Peace out.
99.